In the heart of a small town, the train tracks stretched like a silver ribbon, weaving through fields of golden wheat and clusters of quaint houses. The rhythmic sound of trains passing was as familiar to the residents as the chirping of birds at dawn. These tracks were not just a means of transport. They were a lifeline connecting families to distant cities and jobs. Children often played near the edges, their laughter mingling with the distant whistles of approaching trains. On sunny days, the area would be alive with activity. Neighbors gathered along the wooden fence that lined the tracks, sharing stories and watching the trains rumble by. The scent of freshly baked bread from a nearby bakery floated through the air, blending with the earthy smell of the fields. But there was an unspoken rule among the townsfolk: respect the tracks. They knew that while trains brought excitement, they also posed dangers if caution was ignored. The railway had woven itself into the fabric of this community, creating bonds between residents as they shared both joys and sorrows. However, it also held an undercurrent of fear, especially for parents. The thought of a child wandering too close to the tracks sent shivers down their spines. It was a place where life could change in an instant, as many hoped for safety but remained aware of the risks that loomed nearby, ready to disrupt their peaceful existence. Among the families living near the train tracks, there was a special bond between a young girl named Lily and her father, Tom. Lily, a bright and spirited 7-year-old, was deaf, which made her world quieter but filled with colorful expressions and gestures. She communicated through sign language, and her father had spent countless hours learning alongside her, ensuring no barrier stood between them. Their connection was strong. They understood each other in ways that words often could not capture. Tom worked as a mechanic in the town and was known for his gentle nature. He devoted his free time to nurturing Lily's interests, whether it was drawing flowers during sunny days or building forts out of boxes. His love for her shone brightly, and he always encouraged her to explore the world around her while keeping a watchful eye, especially near the tracks. On the other side of the story was Jim, the rail foreman. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and a serious demeanor but held a deep respect for his job. Having grown up in the town himself, he understood firsthand how crucial the railway was to its people. Jim often walked the tracks ensuring everything was safe. Safety was his top priority. Despite his tough exterior, he had a soft spot for children and often smiled at them as they played nearby. These three characters, Lily, Tom, and Jim, were about to find their lives intertwined in an unexpected way that would test their courage and connection to one another on that fateful day. On a bright, sunny afternoon, Lily and her father, Tom, enjoyed a day at the park near the train tracks. While Tom was busy setting up a picnic, Lily's curious nature sparked her interest in a flock of butterflies dancing just beyond the edge of the grassy area. With her eyes wide with excitement, she darted after them, her small legs propelling her forward in joyful strides. Unbeknownst to Tom, who was arranging sandwiches and juice boxes, Lily ran closer to the tracks. She had always been told to stay away, but in her world of quiet gestures and visual wonders, the vibrant butterflies captured her attention completely. The sound of laughter from other children faded as she focused on chasing the colorful creatures fluttering past. At that moment, Jim, the rail foreman, was inspecting the tracks further down. He had seen children play there countless times but felt a knot of unease when he noticed Lily running towards the edge. His instincts kicked in as he quickly turned his gaze toward the approaching train in the distance. Realizing how close Lily was to danger, Jim sprinted down the tracks with determination. He shouted desperately to grab her attention, but his voice was lost in the roar of the train. In one swift motion, he reached out and scooped Lily into his arms just seconds before the train thundered past, leaving only a gust of wind behind. The moment felt suspended in time, as relief washed over Jim while Tom rushed towards them, panic etched on his face. As the train sped closer, Jim's heart raced with urgency. He could see Lily, her back turned to the approaching danger, her little arms outstretched toward the butterflies. The sound of the train grew louder, drowning out all other noises, and panic surged within him. He knew he had mere seconds to act. With adrenaline pumping through his veins, Jim sprinted down the tracks, his boots pounding the ground as he yelled for Lily. "Stop! Get away from the edge!" But his voice was lost in the roaring noise of the train, and it felt like time was slowing around him. Every step brought him closer to her, but also closer to a tragedy that could unfold in an instant. Just as he reached her side, he saw her turn, surprised by his presence. Without hesitation, Jim scooped Lily up into his strong arms, lifting her off the ground just as the train thundered past with a powerful whoosh. The rush of wind enveloped them both, and for a brief moment, everything seemed surreal. The world around them faded into a blur. He held her tightly against him as they stood on solid ground again, their hearts racing in unison. Relief flooded over Jim as he looked into Lily's wide eyes, realizing she was safe. Moments later, Tom arrived breathlessly at their side, sheer gratitude illuminating his expression as he realized how close he had come to losing his daughter. Jim had acted not just out of duty but also from a place of caring instinct that connected them all in that harrowing moment. As Tom reached the picnic area, a wave of confusion washed over him. He noticed Jim standing with Lily in his arms, both looking shaken yet safe. His heart dropped as he pieced together what had just happened. The realization hit him like a freight train. "What happened?" he stammered, his voice trembling with fear. Tom rushed forward, his eyes darting between Jim and his daughter, desperately seeking answers. The worry etched on his face was palpable as he instinctively reached for Lily, pulling her close to him. "Are you okay? Did you get hurt?" His protective nature flared up as he scanned her body for any signs of injury. Lily looked up at him, her eyes wide and filled with confusion but unharmed, which eased some of his panic. However, the horror of the close call lingered in Tom's mind like a dark shadow. He turned to Jim, who stood nearby, still catching his breath after the rescue. "Thank you," Tom said, his voice cracking with gratitude and fear at the same time. "You saved her life." But beneath the gratitude lay an undercurrent of frustration. How could this happen? Why hadn't he kept a closer eye on her? As he held Lily tightly, Tom promised himself that he would be more vigilant from now on. The incident stirred a mix of emotions within him, relief for his daughter's safety but also a haunting sense of vulnerability for their family in a world where dangers lurked closer than they appeared. The relief of seeing Lily safe quickly turned to anger for Tom. His heart burned with frustration as he replayed the moments leading up to her near disaster. No longer was he going to stand idle. He felt compelled to take action for the safety of all children in their community. Fueled by urgency, Tom rushed through the park, gathering fellow parents and concerned citizens who had watched the events unfold. "They need to know this isn't acceptable," he shouted, rallying a small crowd. Observing the fear and determination in their eyes, he felt a growing sense of solidarity among them. "Let's block the train. We need to send a message that we won't tolerate this danger any longer." With torches raised high, they made their way toward the tracks, their faces illuminated by flickering flames and determination. As dusk began to settle, the urgency heightened. Tom led the group, his voice steady despite the racing pulse in his chest. They arrived at the tracks just as a train approached in the distance, its lights gleaming ominously against the darkening sky. Parents held up their torches like modern-day knights defending their children, ready to act. Tension crackled in the air as some members of the group hesitated while others shouted words of encouragement. The feeling grew stronger that they were united in purpose, a force of protection against potential tragedy. Tom knew that together they could make a difference, both for Lily and for every child who played too close to those dangerous tracks. As the train approached, the air was thick with tension, and the flickering torchlight cast long shadows on the ground. Tom stood at the forefront of the group, heart racing as he faced the train operators who, from their position in the cab, looked both startled and puzzled. The rumble of the engine filled the silence, but Tom's voice rang out above it all. "Stop! We need to talk." The train came to an abrupt halt, its powerful metal frame groaning as it slowed down. The conductor stepped out, confusion etched on his face, but Tom's fierce determination left no room for misunderstanding. "Do you even know how close you came to harming my daughter?" he demanded, gesturing towards Lily, who stood beside him, holding his hand tightly. The conductor stammered, We have safety measures in place." But Tom was not satisfied. What kind of safety measures? A child should never be put in danger like this. There needs to be a guardrail, he insisted, rallying his fellow parents around him. They echoed his concerns, voices rising in unison. Emboldened by their numbers, Tom pressed on, demanding accountability from the railroad company. "We are not just here to complain. We want real changes to protect our children." The urgency of his words hung in the air like a challenge. As more community members joined their cause, a sense of unity strengthened their resolve. They were fighting not just for Lily but for every child who played near those perilous tracks. The standoff had begun, a critical moment that would determine whether their cries for safety would be heard or ignored. The incident ignited a wave of concern throughout the community, transforming fear into a collective call for action. In the days following the standoff, neighbors gathered in homes and at local parks, sharing their worries about the safety of their children near the train tracks. Parents recounted their own close calls and expressed frustration that something so dangerous could happen without sufficient safety measures in place. Tom quickly became a focal point for these discussions, as families sought to support him and his daughter. His willingness to stand up against the railroad company inspired others to voice their concerns, leading to town meetings where topics such as guardrails and warning signals were passionately debated. Each story shared added weight to the urgency of their cause, creating a strong sense of unity among residents. Local businesses began displaying signs of support, with shopkeepers offering discounts to families who participated in community safety initiatives. Children made posters advocating for safer railways, filled with colorful drawings and heartfelt messages. The entire community rallied around Tom and Lily, demonstrating that they were not alone in this fight. As media coverage of the incident spread, people from neighboring towns reached out, sharing similar experiences and strategies for improving safety. The incident had sparked a movement far beyond Tom's initial confrontation, a movement where every family felt empowered to demand better protection for their children, ensuring that no one else would have to experience the fear that had gripped them all. After weeks of community advocacy and urgent discussions, a meeting was finally scheduled between Tom, Jim, and the train officials to address the pressing safety concerns. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as concerned parents filled the room, eager to ensure changes would be made. Tom took a deep breath as he stood before the officials, passionate but composed, ready to articulate the fears and hopes of the community. "Today is about protecting our children," he began, his voice steady. He recounted the harrowing day when his daughter nearly lost her life and shared stories from other parents who had similar experiences. Jim supported Tom's claims, explaining the challenges he faced daily while trying to maintain safety along the tracks. His insights emphasized the urgent need for better safeguards. Impressed by their determination and genuine emotions, the train officials listened intently. After much discussion, they acknowledged the shortcomings in current safety practices and committed to implementing new protocols. Ideas such as installing guardrails, increasing signage awareness, and conducting regular safety workshops for parents and children were proposed. As the meeting concluded, a collective sense of relief washed over everyone present. Tom felt a surge of hope as he looked at his fellow parents. Their voices had been heard. The train officials promised to prioritize these changes and pledged to work closely with the community moving forward. With tangible actions set in motion, Tom knew that they had not only safeguarded Lily, but had also taken vital steps toward ensuring that all children could play near the tracks without fear in their hearts. Their resilience had forged a brighter future, transforming fear into proactive measures for change. As the dust settled on the recent events, Tom took a moment to reflect on everything that had transpired. He felt a mixture of gratitude and responsibility. "I never thought I would have to fight so hard for my daughter's safety," he admitted, looking at Lily as she played with her friends in the park. "But this experience showed me that we have the power to make a change. I want every parent to feel confident that their children can play safely near the tracks. Our community stands stronger together." Jim, too, had his own reflections after such a tumultuous time. As the rail foreman, He understood the importance of safety more than anyone. In my years working here, I've always prioritized keeping people safe, he shared thoughtfully. But this incident opened my eyes to how easily things can go wrong and how critical communication is between us and the community. He felt a renewed sense of duty, not just to operate the trains but also to advocate for improvements that could save lives. Both Tom and Jim expressed optimism for the future. They hoped that by working together, parents, train officials, and workers, they could foster a culture of safety that would protect children and provide peace of mind for families in the town. The lessons learned from this incident would linger, pushing them to continually raise awareness and advocate for changes that would ensure such a close call would never happen again. Together, they envisioned a safer tomorrow where children could thrive without fear near the tracks.